Hi there, I'm Dan Weedin. Welcome to this week's edition of Weedin Unleashed. I see I've already got a hi Dan from Pamela. Hello, Pamela. Thanks for joining us today. At least I know I've got one person besides me on, so thank you for joining us. You may be watching this either live or on my YouTube channel at a later time. Either way is fine. I'm thrilled that we've got a little bit of a run now on Mondays with Weedin Unleashed. We are going to take a break next Monday. It's Labor Day. We'll celebrate the holiday and be back the following week, I believe. But for right now, we've got some things to talk about. Weedin Unleashed is generally a conversation around what I wrote about for Extra Points. And that's going to be the same case today. Just really quick logistics. If you're not getting Extra Points, if you're not getting my weekly newsletter, please go to danweedin.com, W-E-E-D-I-N, or you can email me at dan@danweedin. Either way, danweedin.com. Either way, you can get my my newsletter so that you'll know what we're going to be talking about on this live broadcast. So today's Extra Point was about sound bites. Last Friday, I had a really fascinating conversation with a fellow Rotarian right after our club meeting. Rick and I were talking about the show that I've been watching on CNN called The 70s. It's actually not a show, it's a documentary series. Tom Hanks is one of the executive producers. And so we were talking about why I liked it and what it meant to me. Is that I've been a guy who grew up in the 70s. Now Rick's about 10 years older than me, so he really kind of grew up differently in the 70s than I did. And so we had a chance to chat a little bit. And we got into the conversation of today and how media has changed so much. Not only social media, but we started talking about the presidential elections. And even though we're still well more than a year away, some of the sound bites had come out of that. Now we could discuss media and sound bites, but it made me start thinking about sound bites in business. We as humans have become much more reliant on quick information, soundbite information. If you are a business leader, if you own your own business, or you're the executive, you're a CEO, or in charge of some department, maybe human resources, and you have to get information out to your employees, you need to be able to do so in a way where they can take sound bites and effectively be influenced by you. That's what politicians, that's what television food chefs, that's what reality TV, that's what everybody tries to do, is they try in soundbite fashion to get really important, powerful information out in a very pithy manner. They want to do it quickly. I mean, this broadcast I'm doing now, it's going to be about 10 or 15 minutes. Hopefully it'll be packed with information that people can use. And so they're getting it in sound bites. So when I say sound bites, I'm not talking necessarily about 3 or 4 seconds, but it might be 10 minutes. It might be 5 minutes. If you are in a situation where you have to make sales, you're marketing, you're selling, you've got brand that you're trying to influence others. I'm doing some work right now with a colleague, Betsy Jordan, with consultants. And we talked about brand in that. And so if you're trying to influence using your brand, you've got to be able to do it in sound bites. That means if it's taking you 3 minutes to talk about what your brand is and how you give value, you'd better get that down to about 30 seconds, because that's about all the time you have. So this whole concept about sound bites and what kind of a YouTube visual world we live in, it may apply in great detail to a presidential campaign, but it also applies to you in business, because the more succinct yet powerful you can be in quick spurts, That's going to be very important, and then you're going to have a chance for people to continue to listen. This morning, I subscribed to an email by a very good friend and colleague of mine named Colleen Francis. She's out of I think the Toronto area, and she's a leader, a guru in sales, and I like getting her videos. They're 2-minute videos. They're one of her tips, and they're these very brief 2-minute videos that you get a lot of information out of. I like them, and so I value them. Those are sound bites. I have for insurance agents something called the Ensuring Success video series. 5 minutes every Tuesday. So they're going to get a new one tomorrow. Every Tuesday they get a 5-minute sound bite on something that's important to them in their business. What can you do in your business that takes that whole concept of a sound bite to your employees, to the people that you're trying to influence and persuade to work with you, to investors, to the community? I even made a joke, what if you want to try to influence your spouse on where you're going on vacation? You have to be able to do it in sound bites. So that's the topic for today. What you need to do is take that away and say, how can I now put that into my world? What can I do in my career, in my personal life, in my professional life? What can I do to become more influential by being more brief, yet more powerful? So I've got Dave has written a note here, and I'm going to go ahead and take a look at it now. This would be your chance to go to the comments section and either make a comment on what you just heard or ask me a question. This is meant to be interactive, so I've got a few people who are on board today. That's great. Thank you for being here. But this is your chance while I read Dave's question here, and we'll go from there. Dave says, an observation by Gary Vaynerchuk I heard recently was how information content is at the control of the consumer. For instance, people watch movies, TV, sporting events on their schedule. How to balance timely with relevant a few days, weeks or so from release. I'm not sure if I understand your question, but let me see. I'll take a stab at it, Dave. What you're saying is people have control of when they watch something. So whether it be a movie, whether it be a TV show, could be a sporting event, whatever, they're scheduling it. There's on demand on TV. I use on demand. There is DVR. You can record it and watch it. I binge. My wife and I would find different shows on Netflix that we'll binge watch. We will watch 2 or 3 right in a row, but we're doing it on our time. Well, Dave, this is an example. What I'm doing right here is an example of that. I am putting together a pretty regular broadcast that somebody can come watch live, like some of you are, or they know it's available because I've put it out through social media, or they get my newsletters or whatever, and they can watch it later. My Ensuring Success video series comes out every Tuesday morning, but I'd be disillusioned if I thought that people are only going to watch it then. So I have this vault that it lives in. It's username and password protected. They can go watch all that they want. I think we've got episode 14 coming out. You could binge watch all of those in about an hour. So what you have to do, if you are somebody who's putting out intellectual property and you're doing it on video, let's say, or you're doing a live event, you have to be able to make it available for people to watch when they want. I have an upcoming event in November called the Unleash Summit. You can go to my website and see what it's all about. We're going to have a virtual view. So we're going to record it. We're going to show it live. We're also going to record it and make it available for people to watch later if they can't be there live. So those are the types of things that all of us, no matter what our business, should be looking at. How do we make our sound bites more powerful? And how do we make our information more valuable by letting it be accessible to people when and how they want it? And those are a couple ways. So Dave, I hope I answered your question. If I didn't, please let me know and I'll try to answer it. So this is your opportunity. If you're out there watching, you can do just what Dave did, even just what Pam did, just to say hello. But you can come on and you can ask a question. And here I got another one. Perfect. It's from Pamela. So keep those cards and letters coming. Let's see. Love the soundbite concept. Currently updating my website and want to know how to best add these randomly, where they tie into existing content, create a new page. Should this be a homepage item? Really good question by Pamela. So you want to create these sound bites. What do you do? How do you put them into your website? Well, I know Pamela is an expert. She's a consultant, and so I'm going to speak to her in that way. So Pamela, one of the things you can do is you can create something like this, something like what I'm doing right now. These are accessible on my website. So I'm having these 15-minute videos that you can access on my website. The other things that you can do is you can have soundbite testimonials. So if you go to my website, or if you go to Alan Weiss's website, or if you go to Betsy Jordan's website, you'll see that there are people who have video testimonials for us. They're 30 seconds long. That's all people a lot of times want to take, unless there's something of specific value that takes longer. So you can go in there and you can create some rave reviews that last 20 to 30 seconds, and people can view those. You can create a tip like Colleen Francis did, where she has a weekly tip that comes out on video. I think it was a minute 48 today. So you can have those available, and you can have a specific navigation bar on your website that has, whatever Pamela is doing, and you can go to them there, and then people can take and choose. Make sure you label them so people, I learned that lesson the hard way. Mine were not labeled very well. Hopefully they are better now, but you can label them so people will say, oh, she's talking about this. I want to listen. It's only 2 minutes long. So I think when you're looking at a website that is interactive and you're using video or audio, because I think you can do the exact same thing with podcasts. You have a 2-minute podcast, a 3-minute podcast, something like that, where somebody can just click on it and listen. Those are the sound bites where you can create real power. And I'm a big believer that less is more. Now, these go about 15 minutes. I think that's at the outset what people would listen to. But if the content is important enough and they're getting enough value from it, they'll keep going on and listening more. But I think if you can do a 4 to 5 minute or under sound bite about some specific topic, I think that's valuable. Let me see. I think I saw something else come in. Dave wrote, is it better to release content that's relevant basically at any time in a higher percentage than content that's focused on a specific time frame? 80% general content versus 20% based on financial, socioeconomic, specific events. So I'm going to reread the first part. I want to make sure I got this right, Dave. Is it better to release content that's relevant basically at any time in a higher percentage of, so content, specific time versus general. I think that a mix is important. You had an 80-20. I think that that's probably a fair mix. The reality is I think that it's important to put out general enough information that it has a shelf life. That if I put, like, for instance, today, this commentary about sound bites, my guess is that a year from now, it's still a valuable enough conversation that it doesn't really matter. Somebody can watch it then. I think the more of that you can put out at a higher percentage, the better, because you want it to have a shelf life. That being said, there are occasionally things that are of high importance because they're timely. So, for example, an event or events. I'm going to do a summit. I'm going to get a book out. Those are, I have events and programs that are coming up. I'm going to put those out on video as well, or maybe on podcasts as part of promotions. But those don't have a shelf life. They're going to be done in 30 days, 60 days, maybe 3 days. Who knows? I think that's where you really focus, unless there's something I can't even think, because even if of things that are somewhat time sensitive, there's a message there that's probably going to be timely. But I think to answer your question, release content that's got a longer shelf life, because people are going to stumble upon it at different times. I had a YouTube video that just hit 1,000 views. It was something on crisis management. Obviously, that has a shelf life. I did it 2 or 3 years ago. So I think in answer to your question, make sure you put content out that's going to last a while. Great questions. I don't know if you can hear Captain Jack behind me. He probably wants to answer a few questions himself, but I think for right now, I'm happy that he's just quiet. So these are great questions. I still have time for a little bit more. If you're out there, either Dave or Pamela or anybody else, please feel free to type away and ask. I'll give some final thoughts and give you a chance to do that. Remember, whatever business you're in, you are either trying to influence somebody to come work with you, maybe a new client. You're trying to influence employees. So if you're a human resource director, or you're a CEO, or if you're the CFO trying to influence the CEO, you might be a small business owner trying to get a small business loan. You might be a salesperson trying to influence, again, somebody else to do business with you. Whatever the case is, think about the soundbite content that you don't have time to go into a 3 or 4 or 5 minute discussion about what it is that you're trying to influence. People will get bored. Get to the point. There used to be a thing in newspapers about burying the lead, that you didn't want, as a journalist, you didn't want to bury the lead. And so you don't want to bury the lead with how you're trying to influence either, because somebody may just mentally check out before you get to the important part. So do I have anything more? Does not look like it. Remember, I won't be back next week. It's Labor Day. I hope you have a great Labor Day weekend. Follow me to make sure you know when I am going to be on. Get my newsletter. Go to danweedin.com and sign up for extra points. Follow me on Google+. I send that out all the time. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter. It's Dan Weedin, LinkedIn. However you want to connect, I'm out there. I seem to be ubiquitous. So you can go ahead and connect with me wherever, so that we can make sure that you're getting these. No final questions with that. For Captain Jack, we thank you for being here. By the way, you should be coming to the Unleashed Summit, even if it's virtually, and you should be picking up a copy at a 40% discount of my book, Unleashed Leadership. You can get all of that from my website as well, too. So until we meet again, it'll probably be a couple Mondays from now, I want to thank you for joining us, and hope you have a great week and a terrific holiday. Ciao.